Hey everybody, welcome back to Disability Landscape. I'm Charlie Bros. We're here in the library today. With me is our co-host, Mark Knudsen. Mark, tell us who we have today as a guest.
Yeah, today I'm pretty excited. It's going to be fun. We're going to be talking assists, but we're not talking basketball or hockey. No, we are talking about assistive dogs. And with us today is the executive director and founder of Can Do Canines, Al Peters. Al, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. A pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Pretty much I'll start off with the how did how did Can Do Canines get started? How did it come about?
Years ago when I was middle age at 35, I found myself in a situation where my pet dog was the only one that could support me through a difficult time in my life. And I thought, this is special. This isn't just a pet. This is a dog that I can have a special relationship with. So I started investigating the human-animal bond, and in the process, learned about hearing dogs being trained on the West Coast.
Okay.
And did some investigation here and found out that people in the deaf community would really love to have a hearing dog, but they couldn't afford to buy one. So we figured a way to start training them here and to provide them free of charge to the people who need them. And we've continued to do that all these years. It's 31 years now since I began.
Wow. Okay. What types of assistance dogs does Can Do Canines train? I mean, different breeds and what types of things can they do?
Well, we train for 5 different types of disabilities. We train for, the first ones we did were hearing dogs that alert a deaf person to sounds that they can't hear. Then we began training mobility assist dogs to help people who have mobility challenges, people who use crutches or canes or wheelchairs, dogs that retrieve items, open doors, will retrieve a cordless phone in an emergency, a whole variety of tasks. Picking things up and getting things from the fridge or things that fall on the floor are really key tasks. But we custom train the dogs for whatever people need.
Okay.
Then we train dogs that assist people with seizure disorders during and after a seizure.
Okay.
Dogs that help people with type 1 diabetes by alerting them when their blood sugar is dropping low. The dogs actually sniff their breath and then touch them in a significant way to alert them when their blood sugar is about to drop low before they pass out, which is normally what happens to people with this.
Right, with diabetes, if you have a low blood sugar, you get like a fruity scent in your breath. Is that correct?
Actually, I think that's the other way around. I think that's the sweet part. But people can't actually smell this scent.
Okay.
But the dogs can smell it, and it's the same for every person. So whether you're a man, woman, black, white, it makes no difference. The dogs, once they know what that is, and they know what to do, they can.
I would assume too. Then is it some type of a scent that's associated when you're having a seizure? Then how does a dog know when someone's having a seizure?
Actually, we're just investigating some of that right now.
Okay.
We know that dogs can do it, and we believe it is scent, but we're not sure what the scent is. With diabetes, we know how to harvest scent from a person's breath or from their saliva.
Okay.
But we don't know what it is that they smell for sure with seizures. So what our dogs do is they respond to the seizure. They keep the person safe. They may lick their face. They'll get a cordless phone or bring some juice if they want it. Go for help. So they have a whole variety of tasks, but we don't guarantee that they're going to pre-alert because we're not sure what that scent is yet.
What that scent is in that.
And then the last type of dogs are dogs for children with autism. And those dogs are trained to keep the child safe and also to be kind of a social lubricant. If you've ever met a child with autism, they're not easy to talk to or easy to get along with. Most people look at them and think they're kind of strange. So they stay away. But when the dog's in the situation, people come over and say, "Oh, what a cute dog! What's your dog's name?" and start to enlist that child.
So it's kind of a two-way street, right? Because I would, like you say, it gets the passerby to come. They notice the dog, and that pulls them in.
But at the same, keep the child calm.
I was going to say it must keep the child calm and in confidence in a way because it's got a buddy there that it can rely upon.
That's right. And our dogs go to school with the kids too, so that helps them stay calm in a classroom setting as well.
Okay. And then where do you get your dogs?
Most of our dogs are bred for this. We have our own breeding program.
Okay. Wow.
We do take donated dogs and we use shelter dogs when we can. Any dog that's a willing worker can potentially do this, but all of our dogs have to be healthy. They have to be reliable, and they have to be pretty much bomb-proof. They have to go into public situations,
Oh, right. Yeah.
and not bark and not pee or poop or do any of the
Right.
nasty things that an untrained dog might do.
And then on top of it, not be distracted.
That's right, and then do these positive tasks as well. But so making sure that they're good in public and reliable is sort of the underlying training that sometimes doesn't even show. I mean, like Serena's laying here calmly. I don't have to force her to do that. She's doing it because I told her to, and that's an important feature, because a lot of the times that's what we want from the dog. Sit there and wait until I need you.
Okay.
And not all dogs have an off switch. Some dogs are going all the time, and that's not necessarily.
I have one of those.
It's not necessarily a good trait for an assistance
So I
dog.
suppose there's certain breeds that you like to work with in that.
We do. We only breed Labrador Retrievers.
Okay.
We use Goldens. We use Golden Retrievers. We use Standard Poodles. And then we use some Heinz 57 dogs too, if they've got the right temperament and the right intelligence.
Okay.
We'd be remiss, we need you to introduce your little friend down here.
Oh, well, this
And then
is.
you can show us what your friend can do.
Oh, sure. Well, this is Serena, and I think we're going to show you some stuff on a film. So this is one of our trainers at our facility, and she's going to demonstrate a few things that our dogs learn. So here the dog is getting dressed, and this is a daily thing for our dogs, just like you put on a tie or a coat if you're going out. Our dogs do that. Here we got the dog is picking up its leash and handing it over. So we're going to try some skills. Serena, why don't you sit? So here we're getting a cordless phone, retrieving it and bringing it back to the handler, which is an important safety valve for people with disabilities. Here we're getting help. Go find somebody and, oops, Serena thinks I'm telling her to do it. Here we're helping to get into bed.
Okay.
In this case, we're going to the refrigerator, open it up, and getting some, the fridge camera, that's kind of cute. Getting some juice for somebody. Pushing the door button, a lot of times from a wheelchair, reaching buttons, reaching doors, very difficult.
That
The
is-
dog
yeah.
can't help with all
Yep.
those things. And there's parking.
Okay.
Having a big dog get out of the way is a really good thing. So retrieving is a critical thing. People who use a wheelchair often have a hard time getting anything off the floor. It's also sometimes very dangerous to try to bend that far down. So picking things up. Here, cleaning up. A lot of people who have kids really wish they had a dog like this that could clean up after them. But,
Yeah, I got a 22-year-old son that could use that.
but if you can't reach things on the ground, that's a big deal. So Serena, can you park? Park. Come on, Serena, park. Park. That's a good girl. And just
Oh, wow.
tuck her in there out of the way. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. Just, I thought maybe she was just going to plop right down, but she backed up
she
underneath the
backs
chair.
up and backs in, and it's a big
Backs.
advantage.
Yeah, they become closer to you and out of the way of things.
And out of the way, which is important, especially if you're, if you've got crutches or canes or other kinds
Sure.
of equipment with you. So,
And, a wheelchair person, using person, the dog park then would be like next to them?
they would actually just lay down next to them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the different programs you have, like the prison program, shelter dogs, and the career change type program.
Sure. Well, the prison program is one that's really interesting for people. We work with 7 different prisons here in Minnesota and in Wisconsin that help us to
Really?
raise and train the dogs. 2 of those prisons help with the babies. They help with mom and babies when they're young.
Okay.
About
Okay.
5 weeks of age, mom and babies move into the prison, and the inmates help raise those pups and then take care of them until they're 10 weeks of age, at which point they come out and go into people's homes. The other 5 prisons are actually raising and training the dogs. So our trainers go in and teach the inmates how to handle the dogs, give them a lesson to learn, and each week they learn a new lesson and train the dogs on an additional task. So it saves us a lot of trainer time here
Yeah.
at our facility.
It's a win-win.
and the dogs get to live with somebody who loves them, and
Yep.
the inmates love the opportunity to pay back, because most of them, they're not necessarily bad people.
No, they
They're
just-
somebody who did something bad.
Unfortunate mistake, you know,
Right.
yep.
They
Wrong
made a
place,
mistake,
wrong time.
and now it's a chance to give back to the community, to pay back. So
Well, yeah, it gives them something useful that they're contributing back to the community, and it can help them give an objective for when they're released as well.
absolutely, well, they learn some things that they can actually use as a skill too, because they learn how to groom a dog and take care of a dog as well as train. So we hope that that'll happen. We don't always know what happens to them when they come out,
Right,
because
but
they go
it's-
into
right.
different kinds of programs and wherever they came from. So
It
we
creates a
hope
symbiotic type relationship, though.
absolutely.
And
So.
then you have shelter dogs that you bring in.
We use shelter dogs whenever we can. It's a little bit harder now, right now, especially during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Every shelter dog is getting adopted because
People want animals.
People want animals, and they're having
right,
they need
yeah.
the companionship, and they have time on their hands. A lot
Yeah.
of people are at home, so they're hard to get now. And over the years, our requirements have gotten stiffer and stiffer to be healthy, to be almost perfect in your behavior.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're able to achieve that by breeding the dogs and raising them by hand.
Yeah.
Shelter dogs sometimes have baggage that comes with them. So we love using them. It used to be that dogs were being put to sleep all the time, so it seemed particularly
Yeah.
important. Now that's not happening as much.
Yeah.
If the dog is healthy, it tends to get adopted.
Okay. And then the career change program, can you explain a little bit about that?
That's also one that's not quite as popular as it used to be. I mean, it's popular for the people who get the dogs, but
Yeah.
if you're interested in a really, really good dog that may have a slight defect, you can get on a career change list at our facility, waiting for a dog who was scheduled to be an assistance dog but can't be for some reason. It might be a minor medical thing, it might
Okay.
be a slight behavior thing, but
Right.
there's something about that dog where we've decided it can't be an assistance dog. But in some cases, it's a dog that has 40 or 50 skills, like some of the ones you
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah.
So it
and
definitely could be a good a house dog because it's so well trained to begin with.
Absolutely, over the top good dog.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for people who are on that list, they sometimes wait a long time because
Okay.
there's quite a few people who want one.
Yeah.
And we certainly are trying not to career change dogs
Right,
that way.
right,
But
yeah.
and as we've gotten better in our breeding program, more and more of our dogs actually graduate rather than career change, which is good for everybody. That means
Well, yeah,
more
yeah.
dogs for people with
Well,
disabilities.
'cause you invest quite a bit in training the
It is very
dogs.
expensive to do this, yes. So we want every one of those dogs, whenever possible, to go into the home of somebody who needs them.
Right.
So when they do graduate and go into a home, how old are the dogs generally by that time?
They're about 2 years old,
Okay.
but they can be as old as 3. Some of it depends on their training, some of it depends on the dog. Different dogs mature at different levels.
Right.
There are different, there are exceptions, but generally at about age 2. They come into us between 18 months and 2 years old and usually are placed between 2 and 2.5. That's kind of a general rule. So they will spend a number of months at our facility in New Hope getting final training. We're tuning up the work that the inmates have done,
Okay.
and we're custom training for the needs of the person who's going to get that dog. So we have to match the dog with the client that's waiting,
Oh,
and
right.
to make sure we've got the right personalities together and the
Right,
right
it's a
skill set
two-way
together.
street.
Right.
That's right. That's right. So they got to be a team. It's a teamwork
Yeah.
proposition.
So, what does it cost to train a dog, and kind of, how do you resource the funds to do so?
We say it costs more than $25,000, but
Wow.
it can be considerably more. It's different every year because every year we train a different number of dogs, and our budget changes from year to
Sure.
year. But it's definitely more than that, and we do that strictly by fundraising. There's no
Okay.
government money that goes into this. It's money that people have contributed. Some foundations, the Lions clubs are particularly strong contributors. About $200,000 a year come from Lions clubs.
I'm aware that there's a Can Do Canine Lions Club specifically.
That meets at our facility. Well, before COVID, we met at the facility.
Yeah,
right,
Actually, they're
right.
kind of an internet club, which is pretty interesting. So
Right.
we have staff and we have clients and others that belong to the Can Do Canines Lions
Yep,
Club.
I know a couple
But there
of
are
their
about
members.
700 Lions clubs across Minnesota, and most of them at some time or other has supported the
'Cause
work that we do.
I've also been hit up a few times to buy the Can Do Canine calendar.
Oh, I bet you have. I bet you have. Probably from a couple of our graduates,
yes,
right?
couple of
Who put
graduates.
that together. They do a great job. Beautiful calendar.
Oh yeah, they're a wonderful calendar.
Now you must have a being the dogs are free for the client. You must have a huge waiting list in that.
You know, we do. We have a long waiting list. However, depending on the type of dog and depending on the needs the person has, sometimes it's not that long at all. Sometimes people, it can be as little as a month or two wait from the time somebody completes an application. For autism assist dogs, we have a long waiting list. Unfortunately, it takes a really special dog to tolerate some of the behaviors of a child with autism. So we have a list there that's probably 3 years long. But
Okay.
for other types of assistance dogs, the wait isn't necessarily really, really long. Depends on the person, depends on the dog that's in the kennel for training. The way to find out is to fill out an application.
You're right. Yeah, to contact you guys, and we'll have your contact info up on the up on the screen.
We have so much more to talk about. I know we're all out of time here, though. You have a meeting your own self to get to, but we do have one of your graduates coming in. Lucy and her lovely dog, Maggie.
Yes.
And I'm sure they can help us continue the story. So.
And we're happy to come back. So we want to continue on with this.
Most definitely. Being you're so close to us anyways.
Happy to do it again.
Yeah, we definitely will see more of you, and we do have out on our YouTube page other videos from Can Do Canines also.
Great. Yeah, those are very interesting. I think people will enjoy those.
And you guys have your own YouTube page also.
We've got a lot of videos up there.
A lot of videos.
Yep.
So.
Great way to learn about us, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
So Serena, can you tell us goodbye? Can you tell us? Tell me. Tell me. Tell me. Yeah, oh, there we go. She was asleep, I think. Good girl.
Al Peters, thanks for joining us today. We're going to bring Lucy in and have a little chat with her about her exploits with Maggie and what she's able to do for her. We hope to have you back again soon sometime. And welcome back. We're here now with a recent, I don't want to say recent, but a graduate of Can Do Canines, Luci Camorani. And she's here with her lovely furry friend Maggie. So let's say hi to Lucy here. Mark, what do we got here?
Yeah, well, we start off, and what we would like to know what are some of the skills Can Do Canines train Maggie to do in order to help you, along with what training you had to go through?
Yeah, so Maggie is a mobility assistance dog. So like every mobility assistance dog, they learn retrievals, picking things up off the ground and handing them to me. Bracing, which is when somebody is on the ground, either they're sitting on the ground or they fall on the ground and they need to get back up.
Bracing. Okay.
Maggie stands really still and I can put my hand between her shoulder blades and help myself back up.
So you brace off of the dog.
Yeah,
Okay.
so she knows to stand completely still.
Okay.
She can tug open cupboards with tug toys, or she can tug a laundry basket down the hallway with a fleece toy on it.
You're smiling on that one.
Well, when I was in a dorm, everybody loved when, Maggie tugged the laundry basket all the way down the hallway.
Right.
Can I borrow her on Saturday?
Yeah, have to rent her out. And then she also presses door open buttons with her nose or her paws if it's really high up.
Okay.
Two specific things that Can Do Canines trained once they found out that we were going to be a team is she was trained to lick my face when I faint and fall. So, if I faint and fall, she'll come up and she'll start licking my face.
To get you.
And that is an annoying enough of a sensation that you snap back.
It wakes you up.
And then she also was trained to pick up my forearm crutches by name. So if I say, go get my crutch, she'll get my crutch. And they're unwieldy metal rods. So,
Right. Yeah, not the most tasty thing, I would imagine.
So, and how long have you had Maggie? I mean, can you explain some of the challenges you faced before having her?
Yeah. So before I had Maggie, and I still do have these problems, but a big part of the impacts of my disability is I faint quite frequently, and it's only in postural changes. So going from sitting to standing, my blood pressure does not get the memo and plummets, and then I faint within seconds of standing up.
Oh, wow.
And so going from sitting to standing, but also if I drop something, you're bending all the way down to the ground and all the way up.
Yeah.
Oh, you drop your car keys in an asphalt parking lot. You go all the way down and you pick that up.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I was always nervous about, and I think my family too.
Sure.
Just like when she's alone and something happens, what if she gets hurt?
Yeah.
And then also using forearm crutches. I use them more for stability and stamina when I'm waiting in line for a long time. That's really difficult for me. And when you always have your hands full, because you're always holding on to the crutches, it is very hard to open doors. And when I was in college when I got Maggie, and there are a lot of doors that you need to open. They're all very heavy, and so my hands being full was a constant.
Yeah.
Right. And then how is things, I would assume now with Maggie and that things have changed, in what respect? I would imagine confidence and independence. We want to talk more about now what more, how has the dog assisted you?
Yeah, definitely. So Maggie and I have been a team for just over 3 years, like 3 years in a week.
Oh, wow. Well, happy
anniversary?
Yeah, happy assist dog anniversary.
We'll make a holiday out of it.
I always call it pup-iversary because...
Ooh, that's a good one. We'll have to
I just
steal
don't know if we would have brought dog treats or what. But anyways, continue on. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that as a young person who developed a lot of disability barriers at adolescence, young adulthood, independence is something that every teenager struggles with.
Sure,
And I think that it is especially hard when you feel like you're missing out on things, because it feels like your entire world is revolved around social.
Like you said, with the challenges you mentioned in that, by now having Maggie, I would assume it gives you more confidence in your independence in that. Could you elaborate more how it is now having your dog in that?
Yeah, so fatigue was a really big part of my daily life, and everything that she does, it might not be incredibly glamorous that she's picking up an object, but all of that adds up. And so every door that she opens, every item that she picks up, every time she helps me off of the ground, that means that I can take that energy and spend it on things that I want to do.
Right. Yeah.
And especially as somebody who is, acclimating to disability as an adolescent and young adult, it has allowed me to have the confidence to go out and do more things that I'm interested in, because I know that Maggie's always there for me, and that she helps me conserve that energy so I can focus on my life instead of my symptoms.
And so did you get Maggie then when you were in college and at the dorm, or was it before
I was a sophomore. It was right at the beginning of my sophomore year.
Oh, it was, okay.
My access consultant at the University of Minnesota has a service dog, and I didn't know that service dogs could help people like me.
Right,
And so
yeah.
one day when I asked what the service dog did to help her, she said, oh, well, he picks up items off the ground, he tugs my socks off, all of those things. And there was just light bulb.
Yeah.
I applied that day
Oh, you
to Can Do
did?
Canines. I
Right.
called my mom.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I'm going to do this. She said, well, what's the dog going to do? And I explained it. And she was like, I had no idea they could train dogs to do that.
Right.
So I applied in February, the end of my freshman year, and then I settled in with Maggie at the beginning of my sophomore year.
Okay.
So when you do the application, you go through the process. How long did you train? Did you train with the people at Can Do Canines and with Maggie before you got to kind of bring her home and get all set? How long is that process?
Yeah, it was. Can Do Canines did a wonderful job at tailoring training to the fact that I was a college student and very busy, and that's one of the things that I am incredibly grateful for. So I went in for the first time in, I'd say early September, and I met a couple dogs, and I decided on Maggie, and she stayed at the facility while they trained additional tasks specific to me. And then, I would go to the facility. There were a couple of times that I went to the facility and my trainer, it's training, but it's training for me more than Maggie. She already knows the tasks. It just is training me on how to communicate what I need. And so I went to the facility a few times, and there also were a couple times where I went with my trainer out in public. And then Maggie moved home about a month later, and there were a couple additional times where they sent somebody to me, and we practiced things that are relevant in my life and in my home setting.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if you had training in your home setting and that. And what unusual challenges has there been any that you've encountered with Maggie?
I would say one very tangible thing is, as a science student, I just graduated at the end of August, so like 6 weeks ago.
What kind of student again did you?
Science.
Science, okay.
I majored in genetics, cell biology, and development. And there really is no standard protocol for service dogs in science settings. And I had already completed my chemistry lab, but every time I had a lab class, it was kind of at the whim of the instructor or the lab coordinator or the TA. Do I need to provide my dog, PPE, personal protective equipment?
Oh, that's right. You just,
Does the dog need to wear booties? Does the dog need to wear goggles?
Right.
Am I paying for that? Are you paying for that? And in my last lab class, I was working with a lab coordinator, and she had wanted to draft a specific policy with the university on how to standardize this, so that you didn't have to rely on whoever your instructor was to be considerate. And in that class, it was an animal behavior class. And while we didn't deal with any chemicals in that class, some classes before in that same room might have. So she had removable silicone booties that they purchased on her behalf, and a designated spot where she would lay.
Oh, I suppose, yeah. Because everyone has their spot now.
Yeah, so she has her spot.
Or animals,
And so that was pretty. That was something that I never really would have anticipated. Something that is a little bit more, a little less tangible is just related to public perception of service dogs, of what service dogs do. And as a young person who doesn't look sick.
I was just going to say, because you're not in a wheelchair and you're doing the cane, they were like, well, why does she need the dog?
Yes, I definitely have experienced that, but more so people assuming that she's not mine, that I'm training her. And because I use my crutches for, very long stamina, if I'm going on a long walk, if I'm waiting for the bus, if I just need to run to the bathroom in the same building, or if I just need to run in and, buy chapstick or something,
Right.
I don't use them. And I have, walked down in the building where I work and been stopped and said, "Thank you so much for what you do training these dogs." I also ran into a store and a mom was telling her kids, a toddler and like a 6-year-old, about Maggie, and she explained, that's a helper dog, and that woman is training that dog. And I ignored it because I get that a lot.
Yeah.
And she went on to say she's training that to be a helper dog for people who are handicapped because they can't do much for themselves. And that is when I went over and I kneeled to the children's level and I said, "This is Maggie. Maggie is my service dog. Here are all the cool things she can do. Do you know those buttons that you press to open? Maggie can push those with her nose." And the kids' faces lit up.
Right.
And I hope that, if the mom didn't learn, that the kids would learn that
Right,
disabled
yeah.
people are people and are just as, diverse as everybody else, and, can't do anything for themselves is a very just harmful thing to say.
Now, to take maybe advantage of your science background,
Yes.
and for the people that may be watching that like the science and stuff, can you explain a little bit? We had talked a little bit about the smell, because Can Do Canines have dogs to alert for diabetes, seizures, those types of things. Do you know how that works in a little bit, as far as what you can understand?
Yeah. So the types of people that Can Do Canines diabetes assist dogs benefit are people with hypoglycemia unawareness. A lot of people with diabetes, they can feel when their blood sugar gets low. They
Okay.
feel more sluggish, and they can, eat a snack, or they can, take care of it themselves before it becomes an emergency. But
Right.
some people, over time or for whatever reason, have no awareness of that. They
Yeah.
can't feel it, and so it's just this very sudden, dangerous thing. What Can Do Canines dogs and other all diabetes assist dogs alert to is the smell of what is called ketone bodies that come from somebody's breath when their glucose is low.
So it does come from the breath then?
Yes.
It's not like a
Yes.
body odor. I mean,
yes.
to say it that way, but
breath
it's-
and urine, but one is a lot more convenient to check in public.
Yeah. I'm glad you went there. I wanted to, but I was, I
And-
wanted to stay away from the comedy side of me. But thank you. Go ahead.
And so basically all of our bodies, they, use up energy, and a lot of us, they use up energy, and when the body's consuming energy, it first goes for sugars, like the glucose. You hear parents say, "Oh, don't eat that sugary cereal because you'll bounce off the walls and you'll be hungry 2 hours later," because your body eats the sugar up first.
Okay.
And if you do not produce enough insulin and your glucose gets low, then your body starts burning fat. And when your body burns fat, it creates an accumulation of ketone bodies, which are acids, and they can come from the breath, and they smell very fruity and distinct.
Okay.
So you can train a dog to alert to pretty specific bounds of what is acceptable and what is not, due to the ketone bodies on their saliva.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, I guess we can cancel the interview with Bill Nye now. Now back to your experiences with Maggie. Have you had like a favorite experience with her?
Oh,
since
definitely.
Getting her 3 years ago now.
I mean, every experience is a favorite experience, but something that always warms my heart is I was a summer camp counselor at an overnight YMCA camp for 4 years, the last of which I had Maggie with me.
Okay.
And so Maggie was on staff with me and all 150 kids that were at camp at any given time. And Maggie had a little patch on her bandana that said, "Not all disabilities are visible." And during a session, a 10-year-old boy came up to me and he asked, "What does that mean?" And I said, "Well, when you think of disability, a lot of people think of people using wheelchairs or people who are blind and use a white cane. But a lot of people with disabilities, you might not know just from looking at them."
Sure.
And the kid got quiet and he said, "Oh, that's just like my dad. He has seizures and he can't work because of them." And I said, "Yes, exactly." And at the end of the session, campers have an opportunity to write a short letter to any counselor, and then we write back, and they get mailed out in the middle of the winter. And in a letter titled "To Lucy and Dog," this 10-year-old boy said, "Thank you so much. You taught me a lot of things, but the most important thing that you taught me was that not all disabilities are visible."
Wow.
10-year-old boy.
That child was reached, and will hold that with him for a very long time.
Yes, it definitely made my heart very warm because we were able to talk about it.
Sure. That's great.
Okay. And then I was, to kind of finish it off here. What are you most grateful for having Maggie? I should say, at least you got top billing. They called you when that letter was written. At least you got your name mentioned, But besides getting top billing in the letter, but seriously, as far as having the dog, what are you most grateful for in that?
I think that it is so hard to encompass it, but it is what I am most grateful for with Maggie is the feeling that I will never be alone. That especially as somebody who, as a adolescent young adult, when you go to college, you're being alone, you're living alone, you're figuring out how to navigate the world alone,
right,
on public transit alone and going shopping alone. And with Maggie, I feel like I'm never alone and that I have the confidence to go out and do things alone.
Because of your circumstances.
Because she's always there with me. And especially, specifically about Can Do Canines, the fact that I got Maggie for free is just indescribable. Because I think that the types of people who benefit from service dogs most often are not the types of people that have $25,000 in their back pocket.
No, that's most definitely,
Especially as a college student, and so that just
Absolutely.
that
You're like
just
if you have $25.
yeah, pretty much, or cents depending on the paycheck
25
cycle.
cents,
But
right.
yeah,
So, well, before we go, we'd like to see how Maggie does on the job. So, I hear she is very assisted with helping getting you crutches when they've fallen away.
well, you first got to wake up. Maggie, come on, stand. Oh, hello. Maggie, go get my crutch. Go get my crutch. Come on, go get my crutch. Good girl. Thank you. Oh, and a bow.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great to see her at work, and also as your best friend, I'm sure. And so we want to thank Luci and Maggie for coming in today.
Yep.
He's Mark Knudsen. I'm Charlie Brose. We're here in the library at DC, Minnesota. Thank you for watching Disability Landscape. We'll see you next time.